We tend to think of history as something in the past, right? Something just sitting in a textbook. But what if I told you history is actually a designer? That it literally draws the blueprints for our world today, shaping the challenges and the chances we all face. Well, today, we're going to look at a deep historical tear in the fabric of America, and then explore a modern idea designed to help mend it. Let's dive in. Okay, so to kick things off, I want you to get familiar with this really powerful concept from a designer named Caroline Hill. She calls it the public body. It's this beautiful vision of all of us, every single one of us, as part of one interconnected network. We're all woven together, rooted in the same earth. It's a picture of total interdependence. It's a beautiful vision, right? But it forces us to ask a really tough question. What happens when that ideal, that public body, is intentionally ripped apart? When the division isn't some accident, but it's actually part of the original design? To get a grip on that, we've got to go back in time. The brilliant scholar W.E.B. Du Bois. He analyzed this huge tear in 19th century America, a split so deep that we can still feel the tremors today. He looked at the American labor movement and saw this tragic, massive missed opportunity. So Du Bois points out that you had these two giant forces for change happening at the same time. On one side, you had the abolitionists fighting for the basic human freedom of Black Americans, and on the other, you had the white labor movement fighting for better pay and working conditions. You'd think they would have been natural allies, right? An absolute powerhouse for progress if they joined forces. But that's not what happened. So what went wrong? Why on earth would they see each other as enemies instead of allies? Well, Du Bois argues it all came down to this uniquely American idea of what success looks like, one that prized individual competition way more than collective well-being. And get this, Du Bois points to this quote from Abraham Lincoln that just perfectly captures the whole mindset. The American dream wasn't to lift up the whole working class together. No, the dream was to escape the working class. The goal wasn't to be a proud laborer, it was to stop being a laborer so you could start hiring them. It was all about climbing a ladder, not building a stronger floor for everyone. And this right here shows you the fundamental conflict. The white worker's ultimate dream was to become a boss, a capitalist. But the Black worker's immediate, desperate goal was just to be a free person, to have the basic right to sell their own labor in the first place. This set up a dynamic of pure fear. White laborers looked at millions of enslaved Black people and didn't see potential comrades. They saw economic threats who could take their spot on that ladder. And this economic fear, it didn't just stay as an idea. It exploded into horrific violence. I mean, you look at the 1830s and 40s, and cities like Cincinnati and Philadelphia literally became battlegrounds. White mobs attacking Black communities, burning homes and churches. All of it rooted in this manufactured competition for jobs. So here's the bottom line, according to Du Bois. The struggles that the working class, and I mean all working people, face today aren't new. He says you can draw a straight line directly back to this historical moment, to this choice by white labor to side with racial division instead of building class solidarity with Black labor. It was a tear that would have consequences for centuries. And this brings us to the absolute heart of what we're talking about. If Du Bois is right, if these painful, deep inequities were designed into the very system, then is it possible for us to redesign our way out of them? And that is exactly where the work of Caroline Hill is so important. She and her colleagues created a framework they call Equity X Design. It takes this historical diagnosis and basically turns it into a practical guide for making change, for confronting these deep systemic problems head-on. This right here is the core belief of the whole framework. Racism and inequity are products of design. They can be redesigned. Just think about how powerful that is for a second. If these things aren't just natural, like the weather, but are systems that people actually built, well, that means we, as people, have the power to take them apart and build something better. Hill says this redesigning has to happen on two levels. First, there's the private body. That's you, that's me, our individual selves. We have to pay attention to how oppression and these systems have affected our own minds and bodies. But that's not enough. We also have to heal the public body by actively going out and repairing the broken relationships between people to make that whole system healthy again. So that sounds great, but how do you actually do it? Well, the framework gives us some clear principles to follow. First, you start with yourself, looking at your own biases. Then you move to what they call radical inclusion. You have to intentionally break down the walls that keep people apart. Then comes a really tough one, ceding power. It's about recognizing that for things to really change, those who have power have to be willing to share it or give it up. And finally, you have to practice in public. This isn't a one and done thing. It's a continuous process, a way of living. So let's bring this all home. How do we take this deep historical understanding from Du Bois and this powerful design framework from Hill and turn it into something real, something we can actually do to heal these wounds in our daily lives? The biggest key is a shift in our whole mindset. Hill calls for a healing discourse. What that means is we have to stop treating inequity like a crisis we only react to. It's not an emergency fix. Instead, we have to start seeing repair as a daily, routine practice, like exercise or brushing your teeth, that everyone needs to do to keep the entire public body healthy. And this quote from Hill just ties it all together so perfectly. The past that Du Bois was writing about, it isn't gone. It's still present. It lives in people, in institutions, in the very systems we move through every single day. And that's exactly why the healing has to happen now, in the present. And if there's one thing to really hold on to from all of this, it's this idea. The process is the product. You see, we can't build an equitable future using the old, broken tools of exclusion and hierarchy. The way we treat each other today, the way we build relationships across those old divides, right now, that is the work. That is how we start designing a different future together. So we've seen the past was designed. That means we are the designers of the present. And that leaves all of us with one final, really profound question. It's not about waiting around for someone else to fix things. The power, the tools are with us. So the question is, what kind of future will we build?